name is Rachel and I'm here today to talk about Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. I can take my sticky note off now. So I am reading this because I'm reading all of Jane Austen's books this year, and I thought I would do some reviews of them as I read them because it's fun to talk about Austen books. I like Austen books. So yeah, like I said, this was a reread for me. And I first read this at university. I studied it with Atonement by Ian McEwan, and we were looking at storytelling and this idea of like making up stories. If you've read Atonement, you'll know about Bryony in that book, and then we have Catherine in this book and her whimsical mind, shall we say. That's the first time that I read it. It was nice reading it this time, not having the pressure of reading it for university. I did it for my exam in my first year, so it wasn't a lot of pressure, but at the same time I did still have to like have some pressure involved with the reading of it, and so it was nice to just be reading it in a chill way. I gave it 4.5 stars. I think that's just because there's a simplicity with this book that I don't think you have with some of Austen's other works, because this is thought to be her first written proper like novel length thing. And yeah, her other stories are much more interweaved. When you read something like Pride and Prejudice, like there's a lot more going on in that story than there is in this one. So yeah, I gave this 4.5 stars, but I did thoroughly enjoy it, and I love this book. So yeah, we're going to talk about it today. This is going to be a spoiler video because I actually want to talk about it. So if you haven't read it, it's very good. You should read it. And also, goodbye. Although this was thought to be her first written novel, this was published posthumously in 1818 after Jane Austen's death. And in this we follow Catherine Morland, who is travelling with a couple called the Allens, and they find themselves in Bath around the start of this novel. Now, during that stay in Bath, we see Catherine kind of trying to integrate into society and meeting mainly two sets of siblings. She meets the Thorpes, so Isabella and John Thorpe, and she meets the Tilneys, which is Henry and Eleanor Tilney, and we see her kind of interact with those four people. My favourite thing about this is that this book, like, it copies the style of Gothic novels in a very satirical way. This is a satire of a Gothic novel, but it's the way that the entire story copies it by having her move away, meet new people, and she just does it in such an intelligent way. And if you ever have read any Gothic novels, you will definitely recognise them in this. The ridiculousness of the conclusions that people jump to in Gothic novels sometimes, you definitely see Austen mock within Northanger Abbey. Another thing that I love in this that ties into all of that is just the comedy in this book. An example of this is when Catherine is talking to Mrs. Allen, and she says, "And are Mr. and Mrs. Tilney in Bath?" And she says, "Yes, I fancy they are, but I'm not quite certain. Upon recollection, however, I have a notion they are both dead. At least the mother is. Yes, I am sure Mrs. Tilney is dead." It's just, like, I don't know why I find that so funny, but it's just this, like, yeah, I'm sure they live over there. No, wait, they're dead. Like, there's so many instances in this book that just make me like laugh out loud. It's hilarious. One of the things with this mocking of the Gothic genre is that Catherine reads a lot of Gothic novels, and it's something that she actually bonds with Mr. Tilney over within the book. And after her misstep in accusing a man of killing his wife, she says she remembered with what feeling she had prepared for a knowledge of Northanger. She saw that the infatuation had been created, the mischief settled long before her quitting Bath, and it seemed as if the whole might be traced to the influence of that sort of reading which she had there indulged. Charming as were all Mrs. Radcliffe's works, and charming even as were the works of all her imitators, it was not in them perhaps that human nature, at least in the Midland counties of England, was to be looked for. And she's referring there specifically to like The Mysteries of Udolpho, which she references reading in this book, and yeah, this sort of ridiculous Gothic storyline. And like I said, the thing that I love is how Tilney and Catherine really bond over stories. There's a section where she says, you know, you mustn't read fiction, like fiction's seen as like a woman's thing, and it's not very good to read fiction at this time. And he says, the person, be it gentleman or lady, who has not pleasure in a good novel must be intolerably stupid. I have read all Mrs. Radcliffe's works, and most of them with great pleasure. The Mysteries of Udolpho, when I had once begun it, I could not lay down again. I remember finishing it in 2 days, my hair standing on end the whole time. And all the way through this, their like flirtation all takes place around books and correcting each other, and I really liked that, because I can definitely imagine falling in love with someone over like discussing literature. That is something that obviously I enjoy. I have a booktube channel, but yeah, I enjoy discussing literature with other people, so I really like connected with that bond that they made within the story. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention is something that I've never realised before. I thought of it when I was reading it, and it wouldn't leave my head, and I just found it very, very interesting. Definitely something that like I would love to write an essay about. Like, it was really fascinating, and it was the connection between John Thorpe in this and Alec d'Urberville in Tess of the D'Urbervilles. I don't know why. I think it was because where there is a scene where they are in a carriage, and Catherine is with Isabella and John Thorpe, and they are riding in this carriage, and she wants to get out because she sees the Tilneys. Basically, they've lied to her to get her in this carriage, and she sees them and says, I want to get out. You lied to me. This is not acceptable. I need to go and apologise. And he says no, and he just rides harder. This like connection between him and between Alec d'Urberville, who there are connections between being in a carriage and Alec d'Urberville being in a carriage with Tess. And it was this thing of John definitely being a watered down version of Alec d'Urberville for me. And it was very interesting to think of that, and to think of how both of those writers, because Jane Austen doesn't really tackle anything that radical, I would say. Like Tess d'Urberville tackles a very, very radical subject matter, even for the time that it was written. And Jane Austen doesn't really do that. However, it was quite interesting seeing them both have this similar character, but see how they both deal with it, especially in their relative styles. Jane Austen very much does it in the style that she does in all of her books, and Thomas Hardy, from what I've read so far, is similar. He deals with it in his way, where he doesn't romanticize the men. He does like treat the women as the victims that they are. And yeah, I just found that really, really interesting. I think John Thorpe isn't as demonized in this as he should be for lying and for following her around and for being just an annoying, yeah, he isn't as demonized because he doesn't take that step to really make it unacceptable. But if this was Thomas Hardy, then he would, and he did, because his version of a John Thorpe is definitely Alec d'Urberville. So I really enjoyed thinking about that. I hadn't thought of that before. That was my Northanger Abbey review. It's not really a review, it's just more of a discussion of some thoughts I had while I read it. But yes, I really enjoyed this book, and the next book I'm going to be reading is Sense and Sensibility, which I'm so excited for because I've never read Sense and Sensibility before, so that's super exciting. Thank you very much for watching. If you have read Northanger Abbey, tell me what you thought of it down below, or if you think my John Thorpe Alec d'Urberville connection is absurd, you can also tell me down below. But yes, I will see you in my next video. Bye!